somebody had a question?
Excellent.
Really? Okay. All right, sorry, I delayed you there.
So, pretty much probably everybody's aware that there is some form of pay gap in pretty much every country in the world. I chose to focus on Ireland. Sorry. I like this quote. It's Chairman Mao. He started the Communist Revolution in China, so it's a somewhat controversial figure. But it's enable every woman who can work to take her place on the labor front under principles of equal pay for equal work, which is, to be 2019, to have to even say that is kind of crazy. It's everybody can vote, everybody has rights. Why do I get to make more than you? Because of a chromosomal roll of the dice. This is a chart from 2014 that the Irish government put out. So you can see that basically across every type of field of work there is some form of pay gap. The worst being in elementary education, it's 24%. When people think about the gender pay gap, they just say, you know, obviously it's wrong, they need to get rid of it. But one of the things people don't talk about is what's called the feminization of poverty. Since the end of World War II, the fastest growing group in poverty is single women. So when you compound that with paying them less, you basically create a system of poverty that they cannot escape. This is a chart from Eurostat, which is just the stats recording service for the European Union. Ireland is, yeah, they're 12th out of the 31 countries, so they're not the worst, not the best. Estonia is the worst, it's like 25%. So if you don't work in Estonia. Italy is good, it's 5%, so go to Italy. This was a survey done earlier this year by the CIPD Ireland and the Industrial Relations News. So basically they just polled companies in Ireland about where they are with the gender pay gap. So of the ones they polled, 44% were aware of it and planned to make changes, but 25% had no plan to make any change at all. So they were just going to, because companies, at least in this country, are viewed as individuals. They have the same rights as an individual. So their only goal is to make money. So they don't have to paying half of your workforce less because they're a woman means more profit. 31% are undecided, which is still kind of like, it's pretty easy to pick a side in this one, so I don't know how you could remain undecided. So legislation is obviously where you can start making these changes. You have to support the politicians and the bills and make your voice heard. So last year, the Irish government introduced a bill that will, when passed, if passed, will require companies to publicly report their pay gaps. Companies that don't will be, the government will publish lists of who didn't report. They have the authority to get court orders to go in and seize the company's books, to go through and make sure they're complying with any future regulations. It gives the workers rights to sue based on discrimination, which it is. So then once these companies are publicly known, you can hit them where it hurts, basically. The easiest way to make a company stop doing something you don't want it to do is to stop giving them your money. I personally don't eat at Chick-fil-A. For years I didn't shop at Walmart because Chick-fil-A obviously anti-LGBT. Walmart for years was one of the worst union busting companies. They're still not great, but they at least have upped their starting wages and benefits, so it's not quite so horrible. But that's really the quickest way to make a difference, is to make an impact in their bottom line. If you don't spend money there, they're gonna wonder why. And when they start wondering why, put it on social media. I'm not shopping at X because they do this, because they support this, because they do that. Companies pay people to monitor their Twitter feeds. Every time there's a hashtag, I've done it. I've been on the airport and tweeted at Wendy's because they screwed up my order, and Wendy's people will get back to you and give you a refund. So when they see these movements on social media, they pay attention. You just have to make it a big enough movement so that they have a reason to care. So this chart was just to kind of show, or it's not really a chart, just a picture, but in the US, it's for every dollar that a man makes, it's 73 cents that a woman makes. It's worse for women of color. It's about 55 cents to every dollar that a man makes. It's a crazy, crazy gap. And it really, at this point, it's an inherited system of patriarchy. And it's also just that companies want to make as much money as possible. So if half of your labor force, women make up half the population, makes less, we're just going to keep doing it. There's no reason for us to stop unless you put public pressure on them. Just some examples of companies that are on board and making these changes now. Kraft Heinz, Hilton, and FedEx are all either publicly reporting or closing their gender gaps. So these are companies to spend money with, and I mean, Kraft and Heinz make basically everything that you could need. So they're a pretty good one to go with. If you go on vacation, stay at a Hilton hotel, they're usually pretty nice. They can be somewhat expensive though. I don't really ever ship anything, but FedEx is probably pretty good for that. I like this quote to end it. Fannie Lou Hamer was a member of SNCC, which was the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. They were a big part of the civil rights movement in the 60s. She had the quote of, "Nobody's free until everybody's free." Questions?
What was your, that was really good. What was your personal reason about Chick-fil-A?
I have friends who are gay, I have family members who are gay, and they are ardently anti-LGBTQ. They give about $10 to $12 million a year in donations to charities that are anti-LGBT. Yeah, they support conversion therapy, yeah, just real gnarly stuff.
PDQ is better than Chick-fil-A.
I'm not